Hello, happy new month. Yes, welcome to Trends. I am Bumi Obana Moses on Morgan. And what is it again? Why are you giving me the look? It's the second, it's the beginning of the month. It's exciting. Like February, it's the shortest month ever. So it just breezes through like that.
Wow. Well, perhaps maybe when we start the main discourse of the show, it probably will not be so exciting anymore.
What do you mean? Be optimistic. Where's thy hope?
It's not so much exciting because I have a cold, I have a cough. I'm sure I just greeted my viewers with one just now. My apologies for that. Yes, of course, thank you so much for joining us again on this exciting episode of Trends, according to Bumi. And yes, a lot really has been happening on social media because I know that's where we're getting at. Now, first, this, of course, takes us all the way to Uganda. Of course, we know that Museveni has been there for 30 years and still counting. Yeah. Wow. Almost.
It's a long time.
African leaders are just the bulb. You know, where somebody stays in power for 30 years. That's like, what? That's almost two generations.
Why would you even want to do that? I'm just like, all the stress.
All the stress? You mean all the power and glory and money?
Money, I know.
Yeah, so recently in Uganda, there's a lot really that has been going on. First of all, the elections are coming on the 18th of February. And then secondly, the chief of army staff, was, charged for treason, so to speak, or for standing against the government and for standing for the opposition, so to speak, and of course criticizing, the president, Museveni, Yoweri Museveni. So in view of this, Ugandans came together to set up the hashtag I Choose Peace UG, which of course means Uganda. Now, Ugandans are saying, you know what, this is a new year. We don't have time for clashes, for fights, for controversy and all that.
We just want peace.
So yes, and Sejusa, who is the chief of the army staff, was sent to prison, maximum prison. How do you get to send someone to prison when he's still standing trial? That just shows what a tyrant, real fast track. That shows what a tyrant he is, really. But he'll be back in court on the 9th of February, to maybe perhaps be furtherly condemned, so because as far as we're concerned.
He's been sent to prison.
Yes, he's in maximum prison right now while in trial.
And it's a very serious case. They have to keep him tight so he won't escape.
You sarcastic human being. So yeah, that's how the hashtag came about. And Ugandans are saying, we want peace in this country and we don't want any fighting. But the peace is questionable because peace, from the way we've been reading it from the Ugandans, it translates to being domicile. Really, as long as you want peace, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be brave enough to stand up and say enough is enough. We demand social justice. We want this to stop, and we want this to continue for our country. So that's exactly what social critics are saying.
If you have shed blood, if you have seen a lot of bad things happen, you just want to not have to lose loved ones anymore. You don't want to have to dodge bullets. So I can understand where that's coming from. Trust me, sometimes you just want peace, no matter who rules. Like, please, please.
Yes, but in not wanting to dodge bullets, the evil or the shooter is still.
It's about choosing your battles.
Still standing there, really.
I think it's about choosing. That okay, I have a greater battle to fight ahead. So why not just choose, not to fight right now, and then to save the strength for when you fight later.
I think it's about fighting your battles wisely.
Exactly. Like so you choose your battles. That's the wise decision.
But there's a fight at the end of the day.
Yeah, but at the end, not now. You can decide to step down now so you can fight later. And
the election is just in 2 weeks, so there's no time.
Maybe that's when they will decide to fight.
For the election,
choosing the man they actually want, using their votes to fight.
Okay, yeah, Ugandans, you should take a cue from that. Take a cue from Bumi. Like fight with your vote. Well, if it's not rigged, anyways. And of course, now after that from Uganda, of course, we go global. We know that February is the month of cancer, awareness. And it's actually going to be pretty exciting. Well, not that cancer is
I was just about to say,
the fight, is pretty, exciting because countless, the fight, and the awareness is going to be exciting because, countless of NGOs are coming together to, to give free screening and even sponsor free treatments, to those who are battling cancer. And of course, this year's theme is the hashtag We Can, I Can. Of course, that means that as individuals, we all can individually come together, to unite and with one voice and one action and fight and kick, cancers, I don't want to say the word, but kick cancer on the butt, and personally I'm on board on that one. And of course, I mean, I have I have two, loved ones, families who, died, of cancer. My favorite geography teacher, actually battled ovarian cancer for years until she gave up. So I know how, how deep it can be. And of course, I'm on board.
Any idea how we can fight cancer?
Well, yes, early detection is 90% way of fighting it. And of course, frequent screening. But doctors will always advise that even in the frequent screening, don't get yourself too exposed to radioactivity and all that. Go online and you follow the hashtag #WeCanICan and get there are helplines that you can call and stuff like that, and get more information on how you can be involved in the fight against cancer. And of course, don't forget, you can join the conversation by sharing your views with us via Twitter at TVC Connect using the hashtag TVC Trends. You can comment on our Facebook page at facebook.com/TVC Connect and send your pictures and video comments to the trends at tvcnews.tv. Pumi will unapologetically give you the topic of the day. It's a sad one, I'm afraid.
All right, okay. Before I do that, however, we've got to pay the bills. So we'll be going on a short break now, but when we return, you find out what today is going to be all about. Okay, welcome back. You've heard about what's trending all over Africa. Now let's talk about what's trending in Nigeria. So, the country is currently faced with huge economic problems as she struggles to adapt to the crashing global oil prices, weakening currencies and strained public finances. And in reaction to this, citizens are clamoring for economic reforms, of course. Now, they want these reforms to put the country back on its feet. But will these dwindling economic activities in the country come to an end anytime soon, or are we looking for harder times ahead? Well, that's what we'll be discussing today on the program. Not so exciting, I know. Moses already pointed it out. But before we begin the discussion properly, take a look at this report.
A slump in oil revenue has hit Nigerian public finances and knocked down the value of the naira by more than 30% on the parallel market since last year. Business owners say the widening gap between the official rate and the parallel market is making it hard to keep their enterprises running. Operators believe the naira dipped further when the central bank stopped releasing $10,000 weekly to foreign exchange bureaus to provide Nigerians with permitted allotments of foreign cash when traveling abroad.
That's so good with the exchange rates. With the economic so far now, it's not really helping us because the exchange has really gone high, and with the goods we have now, people are not really responding.
That's a very big problem because you cannot even see hard currency such as dollar, euro, or pounds, or even if you even get it, you cannot transfer because you don't have inflow according to the Nigerian policy over transfer. It's a very big issue.
We don't want somersault policy. We want a policy that will continue so that industrialists will be able to plan for 6 months, long time, or for 1 year. Not today you are in the market, the rate is 238 against USD, that is US dollar. Tomorrow you come to the same market, they are telling you it's about 300. This is not good for us as a nation. We need to maintain a standard.
Nigerian economists have advocated for new systematic approach to help strengthen the naira. They say devaluation of the naira in the light of the nation's depleting foreign exchange reserves will save the currency and the economy.
All right, that was a report by our correspondent Femi Akonde, and it has given you pretty much a good idea about what Nigerians are talking about the economy. You know, a lot of times when we hear about the rise in dollar, the rise in naira against dollar, people feel, it's for those ones that travel now. But now it's affecting everybody. So everyone is suffering from it. You can't do all those your online shopping again.
Who told you I used to do online shopping? Hey, I'm an Alaba boy. No matter.
All right, so yes, joining us to discuss the dwindling economy in Nigeria, we have Kunle Olomofe. He's a business strategist, and via Skype, we have Dr. Sheriff Alabi, who is a consultant with the African Development Bank. So it's going to be a very interesting discussion today, very intelligent discussion. I already feel smart. And we haven't started. So you're welcome to the program, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here.
Okay, let me kick off with you, Kunle.
Yes.
Help us, for those of us, I did economics in school. I got A1 to be honest, but still.
You must have cheated.
I did not, I just
You
crammed.
must have cheated.
I crammed my books. But help us understand how we got to this point and what this point is.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've been on a couple of your shows on TVC and explained this very thing. It's not about it, getting A1 in economics or being a banker or being a financier. If you're suffering in an economy, you'll know.
Yes.
If there's a lack of money, you'll feel it. We got to this point because we relied too much on one resource, and we wasted the resources, the income from that one resource, and we didn't plan for the future of when that resource starts to either dwindle or, as is the case, lose value. And if you have any economy in the world that relies completely on resources that fluctuate as the oil prices are now fluctuating without any backup plans, you're going to have this problem. And the major challenge we have in Nigeria is this stolen funds.
Okay, before we even get to stolen funds, what is this problem? How bad is this problem?
It's a crisis, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, somebody else might tell you different. But being a business owner, being a Nigerian, living in Nigeria, I don't travel that much anymore. I'm not happy being here. It's a crisis. You can't invest in things because they're too expensive. And, you have a situation where most of what we consume in Nigeria is actually imported. So the Naira being, devalued to this point, you tend to spend more money than even before. I was talking to a friend of mine who's also a business consultant, and he said, look, eventually salaries have to be increased because all the prices will soon go up. And who's going to increase the salaries? Where's the money going to come from? At the end of the day, when people want to buy things, they have to change their minds because they don't have enough money. It's a crisis, and it's getting worse by the day.
All right, now at this point, let me draw in Dr. Sheriff Alabi, into the conversation. Dr. Sheriff, you've been hearing what Kunle has said in the studio. Nigeria is in a deep crisis. Now, could you kindly help us understand how did we get here? What did we do wrong, or what exactly are we not doing?
Aside just focusing on oil.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the program. Very interesting question, actually. The question's always been the case that when you continue to depend on, for most of your consumption, local consumption, on imported goods, it is very likely that at some point you're going to run out of funds to be able to finance the importation of those various categories of goods. In any economy, no economy in the world actually ever has succeeded when it is primarily a net importer of what we call the FMCGs, everyday items that people depend on the one side. The other side of that coin as well is when your export economy is also predominantly commodity-led. At some point, there's likely to be problems. And I think in the current situation we are in now, with the world oil prices crashing to probably $20, $25 dollars a barrel from the highs of $105, that is where the real problem is. But I think if we go back in time, a lot of this has always been probably largely due to poor economic management, both fiscal and financial, as well as resource management. And when we have a situation where governments, and I'm not talking about any immediate administration past, but several government administrations in the past in Nigeria, as indeed in many parts of Africa, you find that there hasn't never been any time when there is continuity in our economic policies. So every government every administration coming to government, to office, with their own agenda. So if a previous administration seems to be getting things right and working and putting the country back on proper footing, you soon realize that the next government that comes in decide, well, that was the previous government's agenda and they are no part of that, and therefore they come in with their own programs of all sorts, and in line with that means new budgets allocated, which in quite a lot of cases are not spent, in my view, in the most prudential way, and that I think is a key issue we have. So the problems go back many years, and I think unfortunately the trend has continued, probably back to the late 70s, early 80s, 83, 84. And if you think about the time when President Buhari came into government, when he overthrew the government of Shagari back in the end of 1983, I think there were quite a lot of things happening then in terms of him trying to possibly put the kind of economic and financial management discipline back in government. But we had the unfortunate incident of his government being prematurely terminated by the overthrow by Babangida back in 1985. And I think from that time onwards, when you find that the Naira, which used to exchange for about 85, 90 kobo to the pound at the time, and I think 120 kobo to the pound, and I think about 95 kobo to the dollar back then got devalued, and once you get into the realm of devaluation, your currency loses value, and it's always difficult to get it to appreciate.
Dr. Alabi, you're painting times that
also
for the average...
time when the World Bank produced a lot of structural adjustment programs into Nigeria, so we've had these difficulties for many years.
Okay, Dr. Alabi, you're painting times that a lot of Nigerians now cannot even fathom. But before we, continue the discussion, because a lot of interesting points have been raised, let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're still watching Trends, and we are still talking about the Nigeria economy and what got us to this point. Okay, before I went on a break, Moses, you wanted to ask Dr. Alabi?
Yes, we heard, apart from the historical lecture that he gave to us, but basically one very key point he raised, Kunle, was, no country can survive, with the net, level of importation. We would like to think that we have, financial experts, the CBN, for example, that should have some financial or economic foresight, so to speak. What was the problem? Were we not warned, or we did not listen to their warnings?
No, we were warned.
Okay.
We were warned. We don't seem to care about the future of this country.
Those are very strong words.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, if you care about the future of your country, you wouldn't watch 60 years. It's disheartening to be part of a nation that had so much potential. Dr. Alabi gave a very, very, very powerful argument for our economy back then. It was a beautiful time. I wasn't there, but I've seen a lot of documentaries of the way Nigeria was. It was beautiful, and we were respected around the world. I heard, you would be a Nigerian around the world, and you would walk into a room and they would treat you like royalty. That was just 60 years ago. So what happened to us? A lot of selfishness.
Okay, so now, the deed has been done. There's no need to cry over spilled milk, but what exactly should Buhari do, or the Nigerian government? What do they need to put in place at the moment, for starters at least?
Well, we've been saying this for quite a while, but again, you asked the question, were they warned and did they listen? The question is, are they listening now? Dr. Alabi said, you can't keep importing and expect to survive. What we need to do is export more, and not only raw materials. We have a resource that is in boundless supply. It's intellectual property. Intellectual property resource is something that will probably never end. And it will always increase in value because the economies of the world now focus mainly on computers and entertainment. And look at how the music industry has exploded in Nigeria. That's intellectual property. The more that you add value to people who are creative, the more income you'll get. And once you start getting people paying attention to you, bringing their money to you, the more value you have. Okay. I mentioned the music industry. Now you have the heavyweights of the American music industry coming to Nigeria to play, coming to Nigeria to partner with Nigerian musicians. That's because those people seriously took their intellectual property and put it on the stage and exported value. That's what we need to do. We need to export value, and it's not only in raw materials. You have a lot of IT people who waste away. India is moving really far ahead because they put the major focus on the IT, sector, on the intellectual property of their young people. And that's all we need to do.
All right. Yeah. Dr. Alabi, now another issue that we're currently going to address is the fact that Nigeria has been put under pressure to devalue its currency. However, the president is not buying that idea. In fact, he's saying no. But people are saying this is a great way to cope with the falling oil prices. What's your take on this? Where do you stand?
I think I did say earlier in my comments that the valuation is not necessarily the last. I think it should be used as the last resort rather than the first whip that you get out of your bag to wag the tail of the economy that's failing. No, I think I have to take the view that the president is again probably right at this point not to go to that level. Because the issue is, it is much easier to devalue than to appreciate in value. And it will take a lot more effort, and I'm talking about fiscal and financial management, as well as economic activities to get the currency to appreciate once you've depreciated it. And that is the thing. Now, I think it was Kunle, one of your studio guests, was commenting just before I came in, that essentially what we have, we're blessed with a lot of materials. We've already, for far too long, focused on exporting basic commodities, raw materials to other countries that are industrialized, and in the end, we resorted to importing back the finished goods that were actually made from our own basic commodities. Give a quick example. In Nigeria, we grew a lot of tomatoes. If I remember rightly, I believe Nigeria is the largest producer of tomatoes in the entire African continent, and yet we are the net global importer of tinned tomatoes and tomato paste. That does not make sense. When you go to the other markets in Agege or Mushin or wherever you go, where market women are selling fresh produce, you see a lot of tomatoes go to waste. That is part of the poor economic activity management that I'm talking about. Why have we not found ways to set up industries that can process a lot of these commodities and make the goods available locally and then export? Even within Africa, we need to be engaging in regional or intra-regional trade as opposed to looking always to the West. Europe and America is easier to go to, but they have their stringent standards, and by all means, they're good standards for us to follow. But there's a much bigger market in Africa if we get our acts together. In Uganda, for instance, I have clients who work microfinance, had gone on to extend their business to agri-business, producing cultivating cassava. In as much as they don't eat much cassava in Uganda, but yet they can grow that crop very well, and the market for that immediately for them is actually Sudan. So you're having cassava grown in Uganda and being exported to Sudan, where it is processed into all sorts of finished goods, from crisp to gari, equivalent to gari, and all the other flours that make out of cassava. In the long run, their plan is actually to set up factories that can actually process some of this cassava locally. This is the issues for us. I don't believe devaluation is the answer. If we do, all it means is it makes our goods cheaper, but also means therefore you will need a whole more sacks of naira to import your tins of tomato. It's just as simple as that, so it doesn't make sense.
All right, so in the long run, devaluing the naira will not bring any end to this economic crisis. That's what I'm taking from Dr. Alabi's comments. Okay, now I have a question for you, but before I ask my question, I'm going on another break. Do not go anywhere. And it's hashtag Nigeria economy on trends. Welcome back. So yes, that is, you've heard from Dr. Alabi, and now I want to hear from Kunle, because even before we started the program, we were talking about devaluation. Yes. And yes, that is great. It's terrible. prices might drop, but at the long run we'll suffer. But there are positive things. This is not the first time we have devalued our naira.
Yes, positive things still has to do with exporting goods. That's the number one positive thing that you have when you devalue a currency, is you can, export more goods, or you stand a chance of exporting more of your goods that you have, because, your goods are cheaper. The question is, who wants our goods? Do we have anything to sell? Anything of value, anything, of good quality, which is what Dr. Alabi has said. If we look inwards more than looking outwards, like he said, I think it would help us. And like I said, if you're going to export something that has extreme quality behind it, intellectual property for me, and it will never change. I mean, we're all seated here because of intellectual property. We're not selling any tomatoes or beans. We're talking, we're sharing knowledge. And people just underestimate the value of knowledge, and it's unbelievable. The more value you place on knowledge, the more, information you'll get, the more wisdom you'll have. And that's what we lack right now.
Let's find out what the online community has to say about that.
Yes.
So yeah, the government can pay attention. I know that you can export, Moses and I, intellectual property.
Yes.
We're very smart.
I do not choose to be exported, just what I have in my head. And let's find out. The very first tweet comes from @Carlo Vincent, and it says, "Hey, Nigeria economy will be one of the strongest by 2015. Amen." Now, so them talk come 2016, $300 equals to 1 naira. At Room 4 says, "If Nigeria economy is powerful today, I bet you, the Americans, will be willing to speak Yoruba language." And Jens Law says, "Our federal government should think of diversifying the Nigerian economy. There is no more business in oil. Think of agriculture, sports, automobile, technology, and perhaps intellectual property," as Kunle has said. And Nzedi Law says, "Good luck, Billy Jonathan never ran Nigeria economy to the ground by killing informal sectors. Rather, he created jobs out of it." At JT12_C says, "Whether you like it or not, Nigeria economy is going into recession. Our economy is heading towards Atlantic Ocean, and it is sinking at a very speedy rate." Are we not there already? Okay, now I want to address this question to Dr. Sheriff. Now let's talk about the budget, the 2016 budget. We know that we're, in fact, financial experts like Dr. Soludo and the others have called the budget a huge joke. I have a copy here. And we know that the budget is said to be a deficit one, because we're going to be spending more than we actually earn, or more than what we have. Now the budget is 6.08 trillion in total, and we just have half of that, which means we're going to borrow about half of the rest. Now, what say you, Dr. Sheriff? Are you saying that we should perhaps borrow, maybe from your bank or from the World Bank or the IMF, or we should in fact cut down the cost of what we have, the lavish cost of what we have, what we are spending so far?
Well, that's a very interesting one. The budget seems quite humongous, to say the least. But when we look at the task, for me, this is where we, as opposed to marketing or economics specifically, take an objective and task view. What is the objective? What is it that we're trying to achieve? And then what is the task? And then what resource do you need to carry out that task in order to achieve those objectives? Now, the budget that's been set, it seems quite large in essence, but when you consider that against the backdrop of the decay in the economy itself, and we're trying to bring that economy out of that rotten situation, inevitably you'll have to spend a lot of money. So you cannot then start saying, in Yoruba they said, that is the thing. If you want to dig for honey from the hard rock, you don't ask the cost of the axe. You just keep digging until you get to the bottom of the honey pot and hope this comes out. So to carry out the repairs that's necessary in the economy in order to get it moving again, that budget, I believe, is necessary. But I think, again, it's a question of where and how we apply it and how we spend it, which I think we need to be more careful about. The cost of government in Nigeria over the years have been tremendously high. And I believe in the current budget, allowances have been made to try to trim that. What I think will happen in terms of the financing of the budget itself is with the current deficit we have, there's no doubt that Nigeria will have to go out and borrow. And I believe recently there was, as recent as late last week over the weekend, there's a talk between the Nigerian government and World Bank and the IMF and indeed the African Development Bank for Nigeria to possibly borrow quite a large amount of money to help plug the gap in that deficit. That would be necessary. And I think for me that might be a more prudent measure to take than devaluing the naira. When you devalue the naira, all you're doing is simply making your exports a little affordable for those who are buying it, but then you're making it affordable for those who are going to turn the same commodities into finished goods and then only to re-import it back to your country, and you won't have the money to buy it back. That is the problem. So if you actually can borrow the money to finance the deficit, to get the economy in the right position and create the industries that are necessary to get the economy going, to add value to what we produce at a primary level, then we'll begin to talk more seriously. That I think is what will happen eventually.
So we're certainly going to have to borrow.
Well,
That's
I
one.
actually disagree with that a little bit.
Okay, before you respond to that comment, we have to go on another break, a quick one, so do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Yes, so people want to know if the dollar is coming down anytime soon.
Yes,
be a good question.
But yeah, you wanted to respond to.
Yeah, I wanted to respectfully disagree with just one point, and that is that yes, while I agree, you need to invest in order to reap. That would mean in this case invest a lot in the economy in order to reap from it, and unfortunately for us, that would mean we have to borrow because we don't have enough. I think that we spend money on this country on a lot of things we shouldn't be spending money on, which is why the budget is so large. It's a huge budget even for a country, like ours that is the largest economy in Africa, and we have a lot of excessive spending.
Okay, examples.
Even in government. I mean, I don't want to, if I'm free to name
Feel
names.
We want to know what you're talking about.
Well, okay, let me give a couple of examples. You have a country that is basically suffering under a lot of pressure. People driving luxury cars all over the place in government. What are they doing with those luxury cars? Do they deserve to be driving those luxury cars in the first place? But then if you say, okay, they deserve to be driving it, should they be driving them now in this economy? I mean, I heard of a case, I'm not going to name names of that, but I heard of a case just about 2 weeks ago of a member of staff of the state government, I won't mention which state, got a luxury car as an official car because he doesn't need it, sold it. And then he was obviously caught for selling the car, but that's by the way. I mean, you have a lot of excess spending to the point where a low-level staff gets a car worth 10 million naira and feels, well, what I should do with it is sell it, an official car of the government of this country. That's what we're going through, and that's on the lowest levels. You have the senators earning ridiculous amounts of money. I don't know which figures actually to believe, but we know that those people are not earning the kind of money they should be earning in the kind of economy that we live in. If you cut down the spending, you cut down the excess spending that we have, you will have a better budget to deal with.
Talking about cutting down, one major reason people have given both the economists and just the average person on the streets is corruption.
Yes.
I know you started talking about stolen funds. Yes. Now that we know stealing is corruption, especially what's happening
before, but
that sounds very familiar. Who said that again?
All right, so corruption. And it looks like this present administration is trying a lot to rid the country from corruption.
Yes.
But we're still, in the meantime, yes, it looks like nothing else is happening.
Yes.
So if it's just corruption, even if we get rid of corruption, there's still a huge gap left. Yes.
Yeah, but
so how do we address that?
Even getting rid of corruption has its price to pay, because you have to spend money these days. With the forestalling of the judicial system and all that, it's expensive.
Yes.
So does it not really come across as being penny wise and pounds foolish?
Well, it may look that way. I agree with what the president is doing with regard to making a point. And that's what he's doing. He's making a point and he's cleaning up a system. I think the mistake he might be making is that he's too focused on that one point. you know, and that might be where we are having a bit of a challenge. Now, if you were to diversify a little bit, you know, and delegate a little more, maybe things would move a little faster. I'm dealing with corruption, he says to his government, his staff members, and says, look, I want to deal with this. You handle power, you handle, you know, the economy, you handle this, while I deal with that.
But he has his ministers.
Well, he's not going to let them do anything until he's cleaned up the system. That's just the unfortunate thing that we have here. The system needs to be cleaned up anyway. But you see, here's the thing. You have a country that's gone this deep into corruption. Remember I mentioned just off air, I said to you, this is something that Buhari has actually done before. A lot of people don't realize. He has done this before. When he came into power, this was the first thing that he did. He tied everything down and he locked everybody down. And he made sure that the people who were stealing money, you know, got their just desserts. But then, because the economy was too tight down at the time, was why he was ousted. Nigerians actually wanted him to be ousted at that time. Yes, he was, you know, he was pushed out by Babangida, but Babangida had the backing of Nigerians because they were suffering. They were under a lot of pressure, and he's doing it again. So naturally, it's not the best way to go. It's not the only way to go. We just hope that it doesn't last too much longer.
You know, it's interesting when you made mention of, you know, various sectors, especially power. We know that electricity is a significant, you know, factor in the dwindling economy, really. Yes. Now, recently, the federal government agreed to increase tariff, you know, from 14 naira to 23.6 naira that we usually pay.
You can hear us.
Yes. How do you see that? Why is increasing tariff not commensurate with increasing output or electricity supply?
Well, I don't really understand the power sector really too well, except that I don't have lights most of the time. You know, but let me say this very honestly. You provide a service for us. We enjoy the service. When you want to increase the tariff, we'll understand why. You haven't provided the service. You're telling us that you will increase the price, then you will provide the service. How many people are going to believe that?
Dr. Alabi, now, we've talked about government policies, and of recent, there's been quite a lot of economic policies. Some have stayed, some have not stayed. But in particular, the one about the Bureau de Change and, you know, holding and the way dollar is being moved, the CBN is selling it at a particular rate. The others are not selling at a particular rate, and the government is trying to say, okay, maybe we're going to stop these people from selling and sell it. But CBN, people do not have access to the CBN anyway. So looking at that particular policy, is it feasible?
Again, I think it's probably, with all good intent, it's probably one such policy that was not carefully thought through before it was introduced. And I meant in the sense of the potential repercussions on the performance of the market. What you do in effect is actually create a parallel market, which you probably call the black market in that sense, where if you make these scarce as a resource in the economy, the people who do international business actually rely upon, well, you're not going to start them doing business. They will simply look for alternative sources where they can get the money. And unfortunately, the operators of the parallel markets will just do the best they can to make a killing out of the opportunity. For them, it's an opportunity. When the first policy came in, which was to say no more dollar-dominated accounts to be operated in Nigeria, well, that seems to be a sensible move at the time, but actually is not. Because that was part of what led to the shortage in supply of dollars subsequently, and now to the recent change in policy to say that actually you are now allowed to get to deposit US dollar into your domiciliary accounts in Nigeria. So you never could work. And again, I have to.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Although quite a coincidence, because I was just about to cut Dr. Alabi.
We don't have much time, but so before we go, final words, briefly, you know.
One sentence.
Advise the country.
Nigeria will live long.
Amen.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Just he has said it like a Nigerian, very optimistic. Nigeria will live long. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sharif Alabi, a consultant with the African Development Bank, and thank you very much, Kunle Olomofe, forgive me, Olomofe, you know, who is a business strategist. Thank you guys also for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the program. At this point, I have to say goodbye, but you can remain with us, and Moses is going to be telling you how. Yes, Moses?
Yes, of course. Don't forget you can share your views via Twitter at TVC Connect using the hashtag TVC Trends. Comment on our Facebook page. You can give suggestions or topics, hot topics you'd like to talk about on the show. Facebook.com/TVC Connect, and send your pictures and video comments. Don't send selfies. Just send pictures around your community that you like us to talk about. The trends at tvcnews.tv. I'm Moses Umogana, and I definitely will be seeing you next time.
And I am Bumi Obanao. Goodbye for now.